वाञ्छकल्पतरुभयश्चित् कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारणं परमानन्दं माधवम्। So we follow the Radha Damodar pastime by reading through the Bhagavatam. And I've requested different devotees to recite the relevant verses. And then for the verses, then we will share the commentaries by Prabhupada and the various acharyas that give more light on this wonderful pastime. So we can start with, this appears in the 10th canto, 9th chapter. It goes all the way till the end of the 10th chapter and a few verses, 4 or 5 verses in the 11th chapter. So Akshay, we'll start with the first 2 verses.
So it's call and response, Prabhuji?
No, response will be difficult because we don't have it.
Shri Shuka Uvacha Ekada Grihadasishu Yashodananda Gehini Karmantara Niyuktasu Nirmamantha Swayam Dadi Yani Yani Hagitani Tadbala Charitani Cha Dadi Nirmanthane Kale Smaranti Tanya Gayata.
Translation.
Sri Shukdev Goswami continued. One day, when Mother Yashoda saw that all the maidservants were engaged in other household affairs, she personally began to churn the yogurt. While churning, she remembered the childish activities of Krishna, and in her own way, she composed songs and enjoyed singing to herself about all those activities.
Thank you. Very nice. So this verse is kind of a logical beginning of the Damodar pastime. And before we speak on it, I wanted to speak a few words to frame the mood in which the pastime is discussed and accepted. So there's a story related to that. Once a famous logician, so logicians are those who are good in logic, he went to a village, and there he saw that there was a farmer, and he had yoked a bull with a yoke to a well, and essentially the bull went around, and then he had some mechanism by which the water was pumped into the fields. So the logician went to the farmer and said that this bull is working all by itself, there's nobody there. How do you know if it is moving or not? So the farmer said, I have a bell around the neck of the bull, so when it moves, there is sound, I know it's moving. When it stops moving, then I encourage him to move. So then the logician said, but there is a flaw in this. That what if the bull just stands in one place and keeps shaking its head? So the farmer said, fortunately the bull is not a logician, so I don't have to worry about it. So fortunately devotees are not logicians. When we unfold these pastimes, then it's not that they are illogical, but they defy logic. So when we are dealing with things that are transcendental, we are dealing with activities pertaining to the personality of Godhead, then the framework that we have which is established by our own material existence, often does not scale. So it helps for us to sit back and enjoy the mellows of the pastimes. So there are many times in the discussion, especially when we look at the commentary by the acharyas, and somebody can say, but why this, why not this, and how can you be sure that this is what it was? We can't. But the understanding is that the acharyas are inspired by Krishna, the bona fide acharyas. That's why they are able to give the depth in the pastime. That's why they're literally able to churn the pastime and extract the nectar and present it to us. So, to go deeper into it, I have referred to Srila Prabhupada's purports, and in addition to that, also we'll be referring to dissertations on this pastime by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, and Hari Sori. So they are prominent commentators, and with slightly different moods. Jiva Goswami is considered to be like the professor of Vaishnavism, very, very logical. In his Gopal Champu, he has written about this pastime in details. Vishwanath Chakravarti is known as Rasika Raj, that he is very, very mellow in his extraction of the essence. Very, very learned, but very mellow. And which was the third one? Hari Sori. Hari Sori is a commentator from. He actually appeared in Nasik, and a nice devotee, following his very strict devotional service, Brahman, and the Lord once came to him and said, "You write about my pastimes." And then he said, "I have no qualifications to write." And the Lord said, "Don't worry about it, I'll give you the qualifications." And then he wrote Rasayan, which is by some considered to be esoteric, but bona fide. It is extensively referred to by various senior devotees within ISKCON, Radhanath Maharaj, and especially Radha Govind Maharaj. He refers to him extensively. So Srila Prabhupada in his own purports, in the first canto, he writes that a sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear the Vedic literature, like the Upanishads, Vedanta, and other literatures, left by the previous authorities of Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress. Right? So the focus, of course, here is on the fact that the devotee is sincerely hearing, and the commentaries that they are hearing from are bona fide. They have been approved. So, in order to appreciate this pastimes, it is said that one has to be a poet or a kavi. So there is a saying that says Sangeeta, that Sahitya Sangeeta Kala Vihina Sakshat Pashu Pucha Vihina. That a person who is devoid of Sahitya, which is literature, Sangeet, which is music, and Kala, which is other artistic acts, Sakshat Pashu Pucha Vihina is like an animal. The only difference is Puchviyana, doesn't have a tail. Right? That's the animal. And the verse goes on further to say that there's another difference between the two. That he does not eat grass and the four-legged animals do eat grass, for which the four-legged animals are very grateful, otherwise they would run out of grass. So, one of the 26 qualities of the devotee is kavi, being poetic, being able to appreciate the artistic nuances. And while hearing this pastime, we will have to bring that forth. We will have to dig deeper into our artistic self. So the Damodar Leela, the verse begins with Ekada. Ekada essentially means once upon a time. So it happens when Krishna is a few years old. In terms of timing it is timed at about Krishna's age being 3 years and few months old. So this is in Gokul, and then we know that Krishna left Gokul when he was 3 years and 4 months old. And one of the reasons that he left was because of this, that after the Damodar pastime happened and the Yamalarjun trees fell, then by that time 3 demons had already come and attacked Krishna. So when he was a few days old, then who had come and attacked Krishna? Putana, right? So the kids. And then when he was 3 months old, then who came and attacked Krishna?
Kids only please. Kids only please.
So this is when he kicked the cart.
Kush is not accepting as kid.
No, I am. I'm saying we should go first.
Everybody's okay, you were the oldest, so you should be knowing. The cue is that he kicked the card. So it was what? Asura, sha.
So it was the Shaktasura. Right? So Krishna was 3 months old at the time, and they were celebrating his Uttayan ceremony when the child is able to lift his neck or body, like one of the two things. And when Krishna was 1 year old, then the third demon came, which was the whirlwind demon. The name of the demon was? Thank you. Was Chinavarta. So the Gokul Vasis were getting a little tired with all this thing that was happening, and then with this, the Yamalarjun tree falling on him, they said enough is enough. This place is haunted. So within a few days they left after that and went from Gokul to Vrindavan. So this Damodar Leela is actually one of the last Leelas that Krishna did in Gokul. And actually speaking, there are 3 Damodar Leelas. Right? There is a Damodar Leela that is known as Radha Damodar, which happens on the first day of Kartik. And that Leela is not that famous, but and we'll speak about it later. It's not that famous, but still it's famous. Right? That's another Damodar Leela. It is essentially in Madhurya, conjugal, between Radha and Krishna. Then the Yashoda Damodar Leela, it happens on Dipavali, right in the middle of the month. Right? That's the most famous one, and it is in Vatsalya. And then there is a third Damodar Leela that happens in Gopashtami, where the friends of Krishna tie him to a tree, right, towards the end, and that's in Sakhya. That's with the friends. But the famous is the Yashoda Damodar Leela that happened in Dipavali. So what is happening? So it is it is Grahadasisu. Grahadasisu means that Mother Yashoda is busy preparing for the festival. So what is the festival? Deepavali, right? Two festivals, Deepavali and the next day is Indra Puja. So by this time Indra Puja is still going on. Krishna will stop it later on, but now it's going on. So busy with the preparations, so she sends all her maidservants into different errands. That you take care of this, you take care of this, and then she gets busy in taking care of Krishna. So Yashoda Mai is, so the name Yashoda is Yasha Udaya. So Yash is fame, and Udaya means one who expands. So Yashoda Mai is famous for expanding the fame of Krishna. Krishna is replete in the 6 opulences. One of them is that he is all famous. So this is we are dealing with increasing infinity. That his fame is infinitely great. Even though it's infinitely great, Yashoda Mai still is able to increase his fame. And this pastime is testimony to that. That in this pastime, Krishna is remembered by so many people. There are so many picturizations of it, enactment of it, and because of Yashoda. Okay? So this is the mood of the devotees that they don't take anything, but they give. And one might say that, what can you give to the infinite? And the answer is that you can even increase the infinite. Just like Yashoda Mai is increasing the infinite fame of Krishna. So Krishna is at this age, so at 3 years he's running around, he's walking. We have any child at 3 years old? How old is your daughter, Akshay?
Sachi and Aditi both.
3 years old,
Yeah.
right? So they're at the naughtiest at that time. And Krishna is especially naughty. Because at this age he will start stealing butter. So he would go to the house of the different gopis, and he would steal butter, and the gopis would come and complain to Yashoda Mai. And then Yashoda Mai would say, he's 3 years old, he can barely reach to my knee. How can he steal butter? And you should hang it from the roof. So they would hang it from the roof, and then Krishna would go and get on the back of the other boys and still steal it. And then they would say that, why don't you hide it in a dark place? He's a child, he's scared of darkness. So it does not help. His ornaments are full of effulgence. So Yashoda Mai says, I will remove his ornaments. So that will not help also, because his body is effulgent. Wherever he goes, there is light. So one way or the other, Krishna would steal butter. And if he would go to some house where the gopi had hidden the butter very expertly, then he would go and he would pass urine in that house. He would go and he would pinch their babies, and then he would say, you guys are daridra. He would curse them, that you don't even have butter. You are shame to the Kapur community. So in 3-year-old words, he would go and scold them and come making them feel really bad that they haven't anything for him to steal. Once there was a gopi who was very determined, because every time the gopis would go back, Krishna would say, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm just playing with my friends. All his friends would say yes. Krishna never stole any butter. So once one of the gopas, he told his wife, he said, I take care of Krishna, don't worry. You're getting so agitated with all your butter being stolen. So when Krishna was stealing butter, then he came in front of Krishna and then he said that, you thief. So Krishna looked at him and said, you thief. He was taken aback. He said, "What do you mean, me thief?" He said, "All this butter belongs to me. You're stealing from me. I'm the king of Braj. You should be ashamed of yourself." And then scolding him, he went back to his. And once a gopi, she was very determined to catch Krishna. So she kept hiding and hiding and hiding. And when Krishna came to steal the butter, she caught hold of Krishna. And she said, "Today I've caught you red-handed. You have butter on your hand, you have butter on your mouth, and your mother never believes me. You come." And Krishna started crying, saying, "No, Maya." So in Braj, everybody's mother said, "No, Maya, let me go." No. So she caught hold of his hand, dragged him back to Mother Yashoda. And there she says, "Oh Queen," Yashoda is the queen of Braj. She says, "Oh Queen, you keep saying that your son has never stolen butter. Today I caught him red-handed or white-handed. He has butter and he has on his hand and his face." And Mother Yashoda was smiling and smiling. So she said, "What are you smiling about?" He said, "Just look." So she looked, and then Krishna had become her own son, the gopi's son. So the gopi was completely bewildered. She said, "I was definitely sure I caught Krishna. What happened in between?" So anyway, Mother Yashoda says that it's too much of sunlight, heats may have affected. Don't worry, just go. So the gopi took now her own son. She took her own son back, and then halfway she looked at it and she was carrying Krishna again. And then she said that, "What kind of tricks are you playing on me?" So Krishna says, "This time I became your son. Next time you catch my hand and take me to your mother, I'll become your husband." So the gopi was terrified. The thought of chaste woman, carrying her husband with her hand. So she said, "No, don't worry about it." Right? So this way, the gopis would regularly come to Krishna and complain, Yashoda and complain. And the acharyas say that actually the only reason the gopis were churning the butter was for Krishna to steal. So they would churn the butter, they would keep it, and then they would wait for Krishna to steal it and they would complain about it. So in the Nectar of Devotion, this is described as the heightening of the mellows. Now the gopis are mothers to Krishna, it's Vatsalya. Yes. But the mellows, they get heightened when they are mixed with different other mellows. So when Vatsalya is mixed with humor and anger and bewilderment, it becomes even sweeter. So the purity of the mellow, when it is mixed with another compatible mellow, then the enjoyment increases infinitely. So the gopis were all enjoying this. They would actually churn and keep, and if Krishna did not go to the house of a gopi and steal butter, the gopi would actually become very morose. They would think that my butter is not good quality, and they would try and churn better butter. So actually what the Acharya says that the butter is like the heart of a devotee. When the heart of a devotee becomes soft like the butter, churned by bhakti, Krishna comes and steals it. And that is the perfection of their life. So that's what the devotees aspire for. That the opposite of that is given by Sukadeva Goswami in Bhagavatam, right? He says that one whose eyes do not fill with tears or hairs do not stand at an end, when they chant the name of the Lord, their heart is steel-framed. Right? So that's the other, and then Krishna has no interest in that heart. But when the heart becomes soft at the name of Krishna, in the association of devotees, singing about him, then in no time Krishna will come and steal the heart. So, Yashoda Mai, by this time, she began to think that maybe there is some credence in all the gopis could not be lying. So my Lala is definitely stealing. And she said, maybe my butter is not good enough. Because he never stole butter in his house, he would steal in other people's house. So she said, maybe my butter is not good enough. So Yashoda Nand Baba had 900,000 cows. And 7 cows out of them were very special. They were known as Padmagandha. Padmagandha means that they smelled like lotus flowers. And they ate a special kind of fragrant grass. So they were specially for Krishna. So Yashoda Mai had them milked, and then that day in the morning, she put that milk in a pot and started heating the milk. So the process to make butter is that first from milk you make yogurt. So for that you heat the milk, put yogurt in it, becomes yogurt, and then you churn the yogurt. And then the yogurt becomes butter. So she started the process, she put that milk and she started heating it. And while the milk was being heated, there was another pot of yogurt, and she started churning the yogurt in that pot. So this is very early in the morning, Brahma Muhurat time. Krishna is sleeping and Mother Yashoda is busy, because she knows once Krishna is up, difficult for her to work. So she wants to make the most of it. And the verse says, Yani Yani Gitani. What is she doing as she is churning? She is singing songs about Krishna. And songs that she has composed herself about Krishna. Why is she composed about herself? The songs herself? Because the only other songs that are composed about Krishna are in the Vedas, glorifying him as the personality of Godhead. Yashoda has no interest in those songs, because she does not accept that Krishna is God. Right? So even when Krishna is killing those demons, she's basically saying Lord Narayan protected him, or the Gopas took care of it. When Krishna lifted the Govardhan, she said Nand Baba was actually lifting it. Right? She went around saying, my husband lifted it up, not Krishna. Because she really didn't have that sense that Krishna is the personality of Godhead. Now by this time, Krishna has shown Mother Yashoda the universal form 2 times. So once when Krishna was very young, then Mother Yashoda, so she put a finger in his mouth to see if his teeth are coming or not. So she opened his mouth to see, and then she looked in and she saw there were all the planets and Lord Brahma. And the other time was when Krishna was eating mud. She asked Krishna to open his mouth, and she saw the form. But despite all that, Yashoda Mai, just because she was under the protection of Krishna's Yogamaya, she is not able to accept the Aishwarya aspect of Krishna. So, so the songs that she is singing are about Krishna's activities, and not just Yashoda Mai, all mothers, they like their children to be naughty. Right? They may externally chastise them and be upset at them, but behind each naughtiness there is some display of something that the mother appreciates. That look, my child, by himself he climbed on this and took that toy. He's so intelligent, he can climb over this thing. Or, my child, he is able to shout non-stop for 3 minutes. Look at his vocal abilities. He's going to be a musician. Or, my child has leadership qualities. He leads all the other kids into badmashis. So, my child is going to be a leader. So it's the nature of mother, or parents, not just mothers. I remember when Dhruv was very small, we would go to home programs and then, children are children, they would do all that. And some of the places where the host did not have children, then you would see this difference in how, parents are very indulgently looking at the children. That, look how high he's jumping on the sofa. It's good, right? And the host is looking at the springs on the sofa. What's going to happen to my sofa today? It's a whole different perception. And Yashoda Mai is like very, very taken in by all the naughtiness of Krishna. So she's thinking about his naughty pranks, she's singing about his form. And Prabhupada says that devotees can compose their own prayers and sing. It is a spontaneous offering from one. Prabhupada says also that very important to sing for Krishna. And he gives two reasons. He says one is that if you have to remember something, you put it into a song. And then you will remember it. So like, I don't know about you, but I know like when I was growing up, there are so many things that we studied that I've forgotten all of them. I haven't forgotten the songs that we were hearing at that time. On Vivid Bharati Ka Vigyapan Karikram. There used to be songs, and we were small and we would not even consciously try to memorize them. And then we were reading books that we were trying to, at least at that time, by rote was very important because you had to memorize and then reproduce. I've forgotten all of it, not the songs. So the reason is that ability resonates with the nature of the soul. Like the soul by nature is kavi, is musical. Right? In Brahma Samhita it said that in the spiritual world, every word is a song, every step is a dance. When Krishna is instructing Arjuna, he speaks the Bhagavad Gita. What is Gita? Song. Right? So one might think that in the middle of the battlefield, in an environment where Arjuna is saying, I'm confused, I cannot fight, and Krishna starts singing. That can only happen in Hindi movies, right? Suddenly there's a song that appears. But Krishna does that, right? Because Krishna is Krishna. He is the perfection of all skills. So Yashoda Mai, in this way, she's singing her songs. And it is said that not only Yashoda Mai, but this was a popular pastime in Braj. That people would, the gopis and the gopas, they would compose songs about Krishna and they would get together and they would sing, and in this way they would enjoy, they would laugh and they would enjoy about the pastimes of Krishna. So Yashoda Mai, with her tongue she is singing the glories of Krishna. With her hands she is churning the yogurt for Krishna and Smaratani. And with her mind she is thinking about Krishna. So, mood of a devotee, that by body, mind and words, one serves Krishna. And if all three are not possible, at least one should be possible. That even when we are engaged in other activities, we can think about Krishna. If we have to talk, we can talk about Krishna. And if we have an opportunity, we use our body to serve Krishna or his devotees. So we now go on to the third verse, which has a different meter.
Shomam vasah prithukati tate bibrati sutramatham putra sneha snuta kuchayugam jatakampam cha subhru rajvakarsha shrama bhuja chala kankanau kundale cha svinnam vaktram kabara vigalan malati nirmamantha. Translation: dressed in a saffron yellow sari with a belt tied around her full hips, Mother Yashoda pulled on the churning rope, laboring considerably, her bangles and earrings moving and vibrating and her whole body shaking. Because of her intense love for her child, her breasts were wet with milk. Her face, with its very beautiful eyebrows, was wet with perspiration, and Malathi flowers were falling from her hair.
So Sukadeva Goswami is describing the bodily features of Mother Yashoda in great details. So she is dressed in Shaumam Vasa. Shaumam Vasa is yellow sari. Yellow is generally also considered to be the color of service. And Pritukatitate, that he's saying that she has full hips. And Putra Sneha Snutakucha Yuga, that out of affection for her son, this is out of Smaranam, Krishna is not there, but out of affection out of her son, Snutakucha Yuga, that there is milk coming from her breasts. Then her beautiful eyebrows are wet with perspiration. And then while she is singing, her whole body is shaking. So the acharyas say that the bangles are playing the role of the kartal, and the churning rod is playing the role of the mridanga, and her earrings and her other ornaments, they are playing the role of other musical equipment. So in this way, everybody together is doing Krishna Kirtan and Krishna Seva. So Smaranti Gayanti. Prabhupada says that that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established Harinam Sankirtan, because it gives us Smaranti Gayanti. As we sing, we act, and as we act, we remember. Now, one question that may be asked here is that Sukadeva Goswami is a Naishtik Brahmachari. Right? He is celibate since birth. And he is describing Yashoda Mai in what seems to be undue details. Right? He is describing her hips and other body parts. So, why? It seems a little contradictory. Now, factually speaking, Sukadeva Goswami, he himself says that he is completely situated in the Brahman, which means Atmaram, fully self-satisfied. So he is at a stage where he is unable to make the distinction between a man and a woman, because that comes from the bodily conception. When Sukadeva Goswami appeared, so it said that as soon as he appeared, he left his house. When he became a 16-year-old boy, and he left the house. He was not wearing any clothes. In fact, he never wore any clothes. And Srila Vyasadeva, he started pursuing him, saying that, stay back, at least let me do your samskars, let me give you the Brahman thread. But he did not hear, he was simply going away. So as he was going away, he crossed a small pond. And there were many young girls who were bathing in that water without any clothes. So when Sukadeva Goswami passed, they didn't bother, they let him pass. When Srila Vyasadeva, who was following him, passed, they suddenly became very embarrassed and they started covering their body with clothes. So Srila Vyasadeva, he went and inquired from them, and he said, "You're young girls, this young man who was not wearing any clothes, he passed and did not bother you, and then I passed and suddenly you're embarrassed." So the lady said that we could see that he did not make a distinction between a man and a woman, but you do. And of course, Vyasadeva is elevated, he has to do because he's a grahastha, because he had taken that, he has to do that. So Sukadeva Goswami was at that platform. But still he is describing Mother Yashoda like this because he sees all these connected to Krishna. The mood of Bhagavatam is everything that is spoken because it is connected to Krishna. The Bhagavatam even talks about Krishna passing urine because it is connected to Krishna. Right? It is the Amal Puran, the spotless Puran, and it is still speaking about Krishna passing urine. But it is that becomes transcendental because it is connected to Krishna. So Sukadeva Goswami, when he is looking at Mother Yashoda, he is appreciating from one devotee to another devotee that how everything is with so much of synchronicity being deployed in the service of Krishna, and that is why he is glorifying it. So Srila Prabhupada writes in this that anyone who desires to be Krishna consciousness in motherly affection or parental affection should contemplate the bodily features of Mother Yashoda. So this is another reason that we are perhaps not at that stage, but when devotees become advanced, then they engage in what is known as Leela Smarana. So Leela Smarana is meditating on the pastimes of the Lord and His devotees. So when acharyas like Sukadeva Goswami write, they paint a picture with their words. Because when you hear this description of Mother Yashoda, now you can imagine in your mind to a certain amount of specificity what is happening. She was wearing a yellow cloth, she had bangles, earrings, and she was moving the churning rod. So when one becomes advanced enough, then they take shelter of the descriptive aspects. So in Bhagavatam we'll see that in other pastimes also, so many verses are spoken describing things that sometimes I think that Parishit Maharaj is sitting, going to die in 7 days, and Sukadeva Goswami, he speaks 20 verses describing the forest. He says, these are the species of the animals over there, these are the species of the plants over there, there were bees over there, there were river over there. And then I'm thinking, where's the tattva over there? How is it helping Parishit Maharaj get closer to Krishna? But because Parishit Maharaj is an advanced devotee, he can actually be there. He can take shelter of these words and actually be there. Be there in the forest, see those trees, those creepers, see the deer and the buffaloes, and he can become a part of the pastime. So that's another reason why in this and other places also we see a lot of description of the fine details, an artist painting a picture with words. So another important point here is that when Srila Prabhupada says that we should contemplate Mother Yashoda, then he says that it is not that one should desire to become Yashoda. That is Mayavad. Right? Sometimes when we take to bhakti, and this is more out of innocent enthusiasm, we picture ourselves in perfection, whatever mellow we think we have. Like we are playing with Krishna, or we are Krishna's parents, or gopis with Krishna. We think like that. Those positions are already taken. The people over there don't fall, right? They're Nitya Siddhas. They don't fall. Mother Yashoda will never fall. So there's no chance for anybody else becoming Mother Yashoda. But there is a chance for some fortunate soul to serve somebody who serves somebody who serves Mother Yashoda. That's why these pastimes are there, not for us to become what is known as Anukarna, but to become Anusharana. So Anukarna means trying to become like somebody else. And Anusharana means trying to take shelter of somebody else. So how are we with time? When do you want me to stop?
Yeah, it's fine. I didn't realize. Sorry. It's still the first time, but yeah, it's time to wrap up. We have to do Damodar Ashtam.
Okay, yeah, because I know Damodar Ashtakam will take over at least 15 minutes. Okay, so we'll stop here and tomorrow we will resume our discussion. Srila Prabhupada ki